Welcome to Electrified. It's your host, Dylan Loomis. So first up today, I have never seen a gold Tesla. Today was the first day. I'm not going to show who this was from because there is some profanity up there, but let me know below for this one, dope or nope. So for me, it might be a little too flashy as my daily driver, but I still think it's really cool to see nonetheless. And I wouldn't really want to attract that much attention to myself, even though I'll probably end up doing that if I get a Cybertruck, given where I live up here in Pennsylvania, where Teslas are still pretty rare. So a quick bit of good news here, that urgent petition that was coming from the environmental groups with regard to Giga Berlin, that has been unsuccessful before the higher administrative court. So basically now Tesla is approved and ready to test the already installed systems and units in the foundry, the paint shop, and the body shop units, as well as the installation and use of tanks for rinsing and test purposes before the approval of the overall project is granted, so Tesla can move forward with testing some of these systems. And G4 Tesla shared another defeat for the German environmental associations, which is really interesting when you think about it, because Tesla is one of the most environmentally friendly companies, especially when compared to other companies, no matter how you want to slice the data or what type of FUD you want to come up with. And of course, the jury is always going to be out whether these environmentalist groups are truly concerned about the environment or there is some money involved and there are ulterior motives. Not an argument we need to get into for today, but these folks are still trying to stop construction of Giga Berlin, and while they have not succeeded in stopping, they have definitely succeeded to some degree in at least delaying Tesla's initial production. But a long story short, these environmentalist groups, their motion was inadmissible. We won't need to go into the details on this one. So a small win for Tesla and they can proceed forward. And from Kelvin Yang, Tesla China sued the owner who previously fabricated that brake failure incident. So as you can see, Tesla is now taking some aggressive, you could argue, action against these FUDsters, specifically in China, where the Tesla brand is still being developed and it's not as developed as it is here in the United States. In a quick important disclaimer, Kelvin does not think Tesla China is seeking huge compensation in terms of monetary value. It's just public statements of wrong from the owners, as this is more for public reputation than for money. And this is the actual source. As you can see, Weibo text. This is the owner who apparently was complaining that the brakes weren't working. But what we have here is a third-party report, which is known as an Event Data Recorder, EDR, from the Wenzhou Automotive Engineering Society. And what this report proves is that this user mistakenly pressed the accelerator instead of the brakes when he was trying to blame Tesla, saying that the brakes didn't work. And if you want some interesting light reading, I have included the link to this original source below. As you can see, there are a bunch of comments and you can see all of the likes. The most popular one is sorted to the top. So the most popular comment: how clear is the report? You stepped on the accelerator when you crashed. You mistakenly thought that the brake failed. Lift up and step on the side of the accelerator and the brake. And this is the actual user who was saying he received Tesla's indictment, or the action against him, a few days ago, and he was publishing this publicly to try to get some help with interpreting it, so he says. So of course, who doesn't love at least a little bit of justice? Who knows what will come of this, what the owner will have to do, but as mentioned, it sounds like Tesla isn't out to get money from this guy. They're just out to get public admissions of guilt and to get the truth out there, which once again is a push to right the image of the Tesla brand in China. And yes, it has been a trend, as Tesla China's legal team has adopted a more assertive approach against these false reports and falsified incidents on social media, and Tesla has already received a substantial amount of apologies from both social media influencers and local media entities alike. So it's great to see some good is coming from these efforts, and hopefully this continues. So there's been a little bit of uncertainty out there about one specific FSD beta clip. Of course, it comes from Galley, which is why it was spread so widely. But before we get into what Tristan found and what the solution is, I want to show you the clip from Galley.
Oh, it looked like it would have tried to cut through that. There's just no confidence because you don't see the columns.
And the problem is, I can't, even though the screen is the visualization, now I'm realizing this sounds so obvious, but I'm realizing that there's another big problem. Like, I'm not looking at the visualization because I'm looking at the real world. So I can't look at the real world and try and figure out what the car is thinking at the same time.
Oh, I don't like that.
Holy. So it clearly, honestly, not jiving well with the monorail. Whoa. All right.
So it doesn't even.
It just doesn't see these columns. Honestly, like, fair feedback for the team. Like, the Seattle monorail columns are invisible.
So who knows what would have happened had Gali not grabbed the steering wheel, but let's get into this a little bit. So of course, the main issue here was that Tesla's vision system is not detecting these stationary objects, when as you can see, this visualization from green to only, it does show people moving, as you can see with these gray and kind of purple outline boxes, and it does have these curbs outlined in purple, but these stationary pillars were causing a problem. But then we have these depth maps, which are supposedly easily detecting the pillars. So Tristan assumes the FSD beta is not using the depth maps for static objects and path finding. And if you look at the actual visualization on the screen, you can see that there are no pillars showing up. Now, that does not necessarily mean that the car doesn't see them, because not everything that the car sees is going to be shown on the visualization, at least not yet. And then he says, it seems like the FSD beta can't actually detect the pillars, just the curb and the median. And then he says, since the older neural nets can easily tell that it's non-drivable, this can be solved by adding new training data or labeling to mark those as curbs. It's also possible they'll use those depth maps as fallback, though that adds quite a bit of complexity to their planner. And then someone asked, the depth is coming from radar in production though, right? So the challenge here is depth detection on a previously untrained object. Green said no, it's not. The visualized depth map is actually from vision alone, which is important to know. And by the way, this first clip that Green the Only shared, this is not from Gali's car. No, Green the Only did not have Gali's car. As this exchange right here explains, as Green says, no, I am not sure why you think that that was Gali's car. And Green was asked, do I understand it right that they're not using depth info for obstacle detection and route planning? And Green said they don't appear to be using it for the city streets, even though it is being generated. So we'll have to see how this progresses in the coming weeks, but I thought this was very interesting for now. And someone added, I have personally driven in this area. Although you're not supposed to, you definitely can change lanes between the pillars. The car sees there is enough drivable space, so it could have just been trying to safely cut through before the intervention, to which Green said it does not appear to even sense the pillar as an obstacle until it's too late. So remember, this is a beta, but the good news is Green and Tristan seem to think that this would be an easy fix to make sure that these pillars are either marked as a curb or something that the vision system can recognize, or they're going to use the depth data, who really knows, but not a major issue to fix, but exactly why we all need to be paying very close attention. A quick note on Tesla short sellers, seemingly a lot of them are finally coming to their senses, at least for now. As you can see, the trend of Tesla shares shorted has steadily been decreasing from June 2019 all the way up until June of this year. As the first half of this year came to a close, short interest in Tesla declined again to a new multi-year low. Less than 35 million shares are now short, and these bearish bets are down more than 83% from just 2 years ago. With Tesla no longer one of the most shorted names on the street, a short squeeze is likely out of the question, so this article was kind of encouraging people to get back to focusing on the fundamentals of Tesla. I thought this from Alex was pretty funny. Herbert Deese said in 2018, we will come in 2020, 1 year ago, with vehicles that can do everything like Tesla and are half the price. This year, Deese is saying, by 2025, we should have a good chance of overtaking. 2025, by the way, is the year that Herbert Deese may be leaving Volkswagen, as that is when his new contract is set to expire. So if you were planning your exit midway through the decade, of course, you could make whatever promises you want by 2025, because if you're not going to hit them, well, guess what? You're halfway out the door. So you need to keep in mind that all of these big headlines and company and government promises, we're going fully electric by 2030, we're banning all ICE cars by 2025. It does not mean it's going to happen. There is so much posturing and all of that stuff going on. So just don't watch what people are saying, watch what they are doing. And some more bullish news for the back half of 2021. Not like we need any, but it does seem as though the Model Y is sold out for Q3. This for the long range version. As you can see, the earliest available delivery is October, so that means July, August, and September. Q3 is technically sold out. Now, the performance model is still 7 to 11 weeks, but it is indeed the long range version that is selling really well. and people will be waiting about 3 months to get their vehicle. And it looks as though LG Chem is looking to move a little bit further up the battery supply chain, and they're going to drop about $5 billion, so they say, to do so. And this is to produce key battery materials for separators, cathodes, anodes, and other key elements. They plan to start with $400 million to build the Gumi plant in South Korea, which makes cathode materials for lithium-ion batteries. And LG Chem plans to increase its anode production capacity from 40,000 tons in 2020 to 260,000 tons, or a 5 to 6x by 2026. And LG Chem is actively reviewing mergers and acquisitions along with joint ventures with other companies. And as you can see, LG Chem has been supplying 2170s at Giga Shanghai for the Model 3 and Model Y in the nickel cobalt manganese version, so hopefully this expansion by LG Chem will of course be beneficial to Tesla as well. So Audi is launching their e-tron GT starting at $100,000. Now this picture looks great. I actually have shared this before. I really like this picture, but then you scroll down to this and I tell you what, I don't like this nearly as much. Nor do I like this side profile at all. I just think this front grille is not that attractive. And then when you talk about $100,000 starting price for about 240 miles of range, look, people that love Audi and love a certain type of interior are going to probably buy this car. But when you compare what you could get from Tesla for $100,000, I think most people outside of hardcore Audi fans have an easy decision to make when it comes to that. And this article was shared last week about Ultium's new battery. It gives some details that you might not have seen before, so it's in the description below if you want some more light reading. But that's all for today. Please take a second to like the video if you did. I hope that you guys have an awesome day, and a major thank you to all of my Patreon supporters.